My job, I would say, is a technical footwear designer, meaning that I've got a higher level of technical expertise than a regular shoe designer. I've been working for myself since 2002 or 2003, I can't remember. And before that, I was a shoe designer for all kinds of big brands. I did a lot of high fashion stuff, worked with celebrities. I think the most famous people I've worked with are Britney Spears and the Spice Girls. And then also before that, I was a technical footwear designer in the sports trade, designing soccer and cricket, American football, baseball and boxing. There's all kinds of different ways that shoe designers use scientific knowledge when designing shoes. So my background is sports trade, and that is highly scientific because the designed pair of shoes can injure an athlete. We work with a lot of household name athletes. For instance, when I was designing cricket shoes, I would spend hours at Lord's Cricket Ground with my product manager, who was ex-professional cricket player, and he would be explaining to me, pointing out the movements and all the injuries. And then we spent a lot of time in the biomechanics lab, which is a scientific lab where we study people's movements when they play sport. So it's important to understand movements and the amount of stress on all the time. I'm coming into contact with science. I always work with footwear technologists. They are the kind of brains who, I make things look pretty, but I also have to listen to the footwear technologists so that I make shoes that don't hurt people, that are comfortable, that are not going to fall apart. So there's science every day in my job. It's always there. When I start designing, considering how I apply science, so my first consideration is to make sure that the shoe is going to be manufacturable on the machinery that the factory has. Also, it has to fit and not cause injury. So I have to often refer to my notes, speak to product developers, speak to athletes, spend a lot of time with athletes, speak to the scientists in the biomechanics lab. The creative process and science, they go hand in hand. They have to. You can't have one without the other. If you were just a purely aesthetic designer, then there would have to be someone else who would have to consider the science and then make your shoes makeable. But that makes the process really slow and difficult and is really unhelpful. Everyone's interested in something. So if you're interested in football, maybe a visit to a biomechanics lab would really help you realise that this is really an incredible science. And, especially when you meet the players who are testing footwear, new samples, and you see their passion and also their hesitance at wearing new shoes because they're worried about getting injured, you kind of would then realise how important that is to the sport. So, and if you met a famous fashion designer, if say you were into soccer, and then you went and did an internship with them, you would find out pretty quickly that there's so much science, the way that fabrics have got to perform when they're washed and things like that. So I think that even if you might think you're not interested in science, maybe look at it from the point of view of what are you into? What are you interested in?